Welcome to Kirknewton in Northumberland National Park. We're at the start of the West Hill Hillfort Trail. It's on West Kirknewton Farm, land owned by Colin Martin. The path takes us between the walled garden of the farm and the garden of East Kirknewton Steading, and up a gentle climb onto the track known as the Long Back. Hello Colin.
Hi Chris, how are you?
No, not too bad, thank you. You?
Not bad at all, thanks, yes.
Tell us a little about living here. I gather your house was the old mill at one point.
We converted it in, 1980 something I think, but before that it was a water mill, ground grain for the farm. There's a pond up the hill behind us there that used to supply the water wheel. The man that had the farm decided that he wanted to be ahead of the times, and he decided he wanted electricity before there was any mains power in the village. So he built his own hydroelectric power scheme.
And some of the machinery, I guess, is in the building kind of behind us right now.
Yeah, that's where the main generator house was, and I think we housed batteries in there as well for backup.
Yeah. And I gather also, I mean, the village is still kind of spring fed, there's no kind of mains water supply.
No, the nearest mains water supply is about 3 miles away. We've got really nice wholesome water in the village here. Yeah, occasionally there's little floaty bits of grit and stuff get in it, but no, it's good water.
Talking about farming here, I gather it's a stock farm. You've got sheep and cattle here. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
We've got about 450 sheep and 70 suckler cows, all to produce meat in the long run. We've got Angus cross, Hereford cross, Simmental cross, Limousin cross as well.
We've also got a management agreement with the National Park where it enables people to access and to enjoy and appreciate the wonderful countryside, the archaeology and the ecology on the farm. Obviously it could cause problems with people with it being a working farm. How's it been in your experience?
That's gone very well, yeah. I enjoy meeting people wandering around the farm, and I don't really get much bother with anybody either. We've never had a problem with people with dogs. There are a lot of walkers have dogs, and I like to see them on a lead rather than running round freely. Running round freely is fine on a field with no stock, but the dogs can cause a lot of bother with sheep. You know, dogs just really love to chase anything that will run away from them, and a sheep is a prime example. On the cattle side, well, it goes the other way a bit. The cows with young calves tend to defend their calves, and they'll chase the dog. And if the dog's loose, the first thing the dog does is runs back to its owner. And the cows just thunder in on top and can sometimes do damage to the owner as well. I mean, if you've got your dog on a short lead, the cows tend to see the dog as part of the human. Yeah. They don't see it as a threat. So yeah, that's my advice, is always keep your dog on a lead.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, it's really good to talk to you. I must get on with my walk, but it's really nice to see
you.
you.
Okay, cheers Chris.
Thanks Colin.
See ya.
The footpath here takes us on the old road between Kirknewton village and the village of Hethpool. We're literally walking in the footsteps of people in the past, as this road was actually used for centuries, connecting the two villages together. Most of the old village of Kirknewton lay to the north of this track, but the cottages were demolished in the 1830s, so Kirknewton House could be built. The building here is a 19th century smithy. Its position on this road is interesting. This smithy, or an older smithy on the same site, could well have been on the edge of the old village rather than out on its own as it appears today. You can really see more of the farm from this path, with the land rising steeply to your left to form West Hill, and over on the right the flatter fields in the bottom of the valley where Colin has recently harvested his hay crop. You get a good view of the railway station and Station Master's house, built when the Alnwick to Cornhill line went through in 1887. The traditional farmstead at West Newton can be seen just north of the College Burn. The College Burn joins the River Beaumont just beyond the bridge to form the River Glen. The building behind me is a traditional shepherd's cottage. You'll see the arrangement that has a dwelling house at the furthest area behind me, and then you have a stable or a byre, and then you have a pigsty or a piggery. But it was abandoned, we think, around the 1960s, And that time was interesting because there's a time where, as a result of mechanisation and a gradual change in farming, we see a depopulation of the uplands. We're now coming into an area of ancient woodland, predominantly oak. We're still following the track from Kirk Newton towards Hethpool, which will join the St Cuthbert's Way. And now we think of this as a dramatic open landscape, but actually we have remnants of woodland. And now ancient, I actually mean only about 400 years old or so. To my right, there's an area of oaks known as the Collingwood Oaks, associated with Admiral Lord Collingwood, and they're about 200 years old. As we go past more of the oak woodlands, the view opens up so we can see Wester Tor and Easter Tor in front of us. And away to the right, we look up to Hethpool and the College Valley. Another permissive path branches off here to join the St Cuthbert's Way, a long distance footpath stretching from Melrose to the holy island of Lindisfarne. The rough grazing below the tors and on the sides of the tors themselves are good places to see the wild goats in the summer months. Well, you've just seen us pass through a farmstead, which is medieval and early post-medieval, but it's hundreds of years after the Iron Age. But we're going to go back much further in time to our destination, over to the top, to West Hill. As you climb, you get views back to the tors and the out-by farm of Torley House, and to Yevering Bell beyond, with the ramparts of the hill fort clearly visible. Nearer is St Gregory's Hill, with glimpses of the Millfield Plain beyond. Well, now we've come part way up the hill and we're almost at our destination. And one of the interesting things is we're actually surrounded by archaeology. It's all about an inhabited landscape, people living here, dwelling in settlements around the hill fort, and also the fields all around the hill fort themselves. So the archaeology isn't just about the hill fort itself, it's in the entire landscape around it. There are plenty of interesting plants to see along the way, with a variety of grasses such as foxtail, cocksfoot, fescues and the pink and white blooms of clover. Look for the bright yellow of gorse earlier in the year, and also of broom. Today we have a lot of purple foxgloves, which contrast pleasingly with the rocks they grow among. Where I'm sat here now, and run my fingers along this large boulder, it's been upturned as part of this relatively modern clearance cairn. Now these plough marks connects the prehistoric peoples with the medieval peoples that followed them some hundreds of years later. And ploughing was a relatively simple process. Ploughing was done by teams of oxen or teams of horse and individuals, and it was hard work. The ploughing was done by an ard, a very simple plough. It would plough a furrow and there was no mould board. But here you will be able to see the remains of field banks. They're called lynchets, and they enclose some of this agricultural land. And if at the right time of year you're particularly lucky, you'll see some of the marks of cultivation, both associated with the hill fort and the medieval farmstead. I'm always fascinated to come here, not just by Yevering Bell itself, which is one of the best, if not one of the most impressive of Northumberland's hill forts, but these are very interesting places to come. You get a real sense of walking back in time and following in people's footsteps, whether they be the footsteps of the hill fort builders themselves, or whether it be the ploughmen, or whether it be the shepherds. I think you actually do get that sense that you're connected to people and place. You can see some of the boulders to one side, and also you've got the kind of large rounded end of a rampart, a particular interruption, which looks like it's possibly an entrance. It's facing out onto Yevering Bell, faces out onto some of the field systems, and it's a very, very distinct possibility as an entrance into the hill fort. The vast Millfield Plain is to the east, where there was once a lake after the last ice age. Below is the river valley of the Glen, formed by the joining of the College Burn and Beaumont River at West Newton. The site of Gethryn, below Yevering Bell, just beyond St Gregory's Hill, is noted as the place of baptisms in the Glen by Paulinus in the 7th century AD. To the north is the hill with the monument to Davison, chandler and prize agent for Lord Nelson. Another sweep of hills straddling the road to Yetham and the border brings us back to Hethpool Bell, with further evidence of habitation, and the view up the College Valley flanked on the south side by Hare Law and the Tors. Here at the very top of West Hill, you've got Yevering Bell behind me, you've got St Gregory's Hill to the other side, and just to stand here and listen to the song of a skylark, the call of a curlew, you may even see a wild goat. It's certainly a very special place to be.